How's it going, YouTube? Welcome back to another video on the channel. We have a special guest today. We have Lukas Horstmann, straight from German Nationals, top 8, and if I remember correctly, the only branded in the top cut. Is that correct?
I'm thinking there was another one, but the only branded in top 8, I think.
Only branded in the top 8. Well, first of all, thank you for doing this. Congratulations on this really, really cool achievement. German Nationals is one of the biggest and also one of the most competitive nationals out there. So, again, huge congratulations. How was your tournament experience overall? And if you want to introduce yourself first as well.
To everyone, my name is Lukas Horstmann. I'm from Germany, the north of Germany. I'm from Bremen. And I was visiting the German Nationals last weekend, and the experience were very good. They told us to the beginning of the tournament that they will only play top 32 on 1,944 players. I was thinking we were playing top 64 or top 128. But all in all, this was not happening. So everyone was thinking, okay, we will never reach top cut. So all in all, it was a good experience because I reached it.
Awesome. Amazing. Why did you choose to play branded in this specific tournament?
I'm always playing the deck that I'm the most confident with. And there were two decks that I had to pick. One deck was Sky Striker. With this deck, I achieved top 8 last year in the German Nationals. And the other deck was Branded. Branded, I was playing for like 4 months. And it was a good run, but basically you lose to hard counters like Ash, Anti-Spell, D-Barrier. So I have to look for the deck with the better power ceiling, or the decks I can play against basically every deck in form of Sky Striker. But I choose to pick Branded because I played at the last locals, and I think it was the right choice. I know the lines, and I think it worked.
Yeah, apparently it did. Really solid deck list from what I'm looking at right now. We're going to dive into the card by card in a minute. But I also wanted to ask you, how did you feel like as you were going through the tournament? Did you feel at some points the deck is very, very good, the deck is not good enough? Did you hesitate as you were going through the tournament? Did you face a lot of, for example, Kashtira matchups, which are a little bit harder for the deck?
I built the deck I built the deck that it is very consistent. I also added a Allure of Darkness. I think we will discuss it later. But I want to have my outs very consistent, and therefore Allure of Darkness helped me a lot around the tournament. And for example, I think with my engine I can break a Kashtira board very easy, but if they have Dimensional Shifter, it's kind of hard. So I have to draw, for example, into my board breakers like Evenly Matched, and therefore Allure of Darkness was a good card. All in all, I only fear the hard drawouts like Ash Blossom, Anti-Spell, Dimensional Barrier. And the other boards, it's kind of easy to break, I think. The only problems were back row decks, but therefore I put in Evenly Matched and Feather Duster, and yeah, my sideboard was prepared for it too.
Yeah, amazing. Let's dive into the deck and see what are the choices you've made here. 40 card deck list, really, really loving it. A lot of things that I also considered when I built my deck for Nationals. Let's first of all talk about, I think, just start from the top. Ad libitum, a lot of people are considering whether ad libitum is actually worth it at this point. I personally think it offers a lot of value, but what was your standpoint when you were building the deck?
My standpoint was, I was thinking, how can I build it very consistent? Yes, ad libitum is a brick, but some people even main deck Gimmick Puppet. I'm not playing Gimmick Puppet. Yes, you can argue that you have Allure of Darkness to banish it if it bricks in your hand, but you can't use it, for example, for the new Albion Fusion to give the lock to the opponent, because I think the Albion Fusion is only summoning from the grave.
Yeah.
So my strategy was focused on resources. Also the resource game the deck is very good in, and all in all, Libitum supports that.
Yeah, that's great. And how did you feel about Allure of Darkness in general? Because You do have 2 Allure of Darkness. There's not a lot of dark monsters, like there's no additional Mercurier, no additional Tragedy. Was it just for consistency or for any other reason?
Yes, at first I was playing 2 Mercuria, 3 Allure of Darkness, and then I was cutting it down to 1 Mercurio and 2 Allure of Darkness because I want to have some more board breakers in it, for example the evenly matched, so that I can play against backrow decks because the German nationals are known for a lot of anti-meta.
Yeah.
And I had, for example, a matchup with Runic deck out and Vanity Fiend inside, so these cards come in clutch.
Yeah.
And the Allure of Darkness was mainly for consistency, but if it resolves with a Mercuria, you always are in a very good spot to win the
Yeah.
game.
That's true.
Even more, I think.
Yeah, it's a very solid card. And we are seeing also 1 Cartesia. A lot of people have been going towards 2 Cartesia. You were like looking to keep the deck super tight and at 40 cards?
Yeah, the reason behind Cartesia is I always want to summon it with fusion deployment and not by drawing at a normal summon it. I think the deck has better normal summons than Cartesia. Yes, you can set it up with Albion and put Albus in the graveyard, or you normal summon Albus, special Cartesia, but I think that makes your deck play weird. And so with Fusion deployment, you always have Cartesia access, and even without normal summoning in my feature match, you saw that I summoned it and a nearly unbreakable board for Labyrinth, and it was enough. I never missed it.
Yeah, the feature match definitely showed you know what you're doing with the deck. A lot of people are playing the deck. Branded, in my opinion, is a hard deck to pilot well. The difference between a new player with the deck to a veteran player with the deck really shows, in my opinion. So that was really, really good to see, because a lot of the times you don't always see the good players playing Branded on features. And I'm like, oh man, I want to see like somebody cook with the deck. And in German, it was amazing. So we have other pretty standard things. We have 1 Lubellion, 1 Serenir. We are playing 3 Albaz, 1 Quem. We're playing the Dark Magician, so Dragoon did make it into your list. Is there a special reason for that?
Yes, for sure. Dark Magician is a card, because it's a resource game, I start with a good board that my opponent nearly can't break. And in the most times, in the second turn, I can end the game with Dragoon. Even Dragoon is good against Kashtira. They have hard times by dealing with a Dragoon, so even against backrow decks, if you set up Dragoon, it's very hard to break it, and mostly with Dark Magician and the burn damage, you see the game.
Yeah, it's such a good card. I think this format still, it's really good to have in the deck. So we did talk about the Allure of Darkness, 3 Branded Fusion, of course, 1 red, 1 lost, and 3 opening, called by the grave, and then an additional 2 Crossout Designator. So I think there's a few things here that I see regarding Crossout Designator, but tell me your thinking about going with a Crossout Designator approach for the deck, because there's barely any going second cards here, right? There's 1 Imperm, 1 Evenly, 1 Duster, and then 3 Ash, and that's basically it, right?
Yes. The thinking by playing 2 Crossout Designators is I don't want to draw both. So I don't want to play 3 Crossout Designators because I don't want to draw 2. And my third Crossout Designator is basically a Caught by the Grave. I'm not playing Dimensional Shifter as a Crossout target, so I have even a out for Shifter if I go first against, for example, Kashtira with the Caught by the Grave.
Yeah, that makes sense. Was Evenly Matched and Imperm also like Crossout targets?
Again, evenly matched in the other card, I was not understanding.
And Infinite Impermanence.
For sure. Sometimes it hurts when Aluba gets impermed. It is a target, but it's a good hand trap too. So why not? I was thinking 1 is enough.
Yeah.
And the evenly matched is a crossout target too, but it's a board breaker as well. I think it's a win-win situation in both cases. It will help the player.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think Evenly Matched is like a card that sometimes can affect Branded really hard. if you don't set up your graveyard with ad libitum, evenly matched can go really, really strong against branded. So that makes total sense. Two last things. Harpy's Feather Duster in the main. I personally love that choice. I think I also played Harpies in the main in my Nationals build. What was your reason? It's just such a good card to open like all the time, right?
Yes, for sure. The German, this is not the first German national I was playing, and my experience were always there is a back row deck that kills you when you don't play the out. So I play the one with evenly the second back row out in the main deck, and second duel I always think about siding the Feather Duster out because Cosmics are better when they flip the anti-spells over. But all in all, Feather Duster helped me a lot in the tournament, and I will not miss it in the main deck.
Yeah, it's such an amazing card. And lastly, in the main, Branded Banishment. We got 4 traps in the main, and Branded Banishment is a card that we've seen a little bit in side decks, not at all in main decks, definitely not in this format. I'm really interested to hear what was your decision behind Branded Banishment.
Yeah, this was a last day decision because I was playing Branded in red at 2 at the beginning because I think with Branded in red you can dodge Veiler, for example, or Impermanence. But I had a problem because my friend was playing Full Hyaluronic Sprite with Scareclaw Tryhard, and I had in my locals problems with Chaos Angel. And the Banishment is in my eyes an out for this, so I want to be more confident by playing the out to out these cards.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I think that one card I also wanted to talk about regarding the main deck, you mentioned Scareclaw Tryhard, which is really hard for the deck to interact with. I think Banishment is a really genius idea for that. Another card that is usually useful against that is Super Polymerization. Was there a reason why you didn't choose to play Super Poly in this deck?
This was also a last day decision. I was thinking by playing Super Poly or TCW, and Super Poly was always the argument that is good that nobody can interact with it because it's Space Speed 4. But all in all, I want not to thin my extra deck with Super Poly targets. I want to have cards that are more situational than Swamp King, for example. Yeah. And only playing Super Poly for the mirror match by having making a mirror jet with an opponent's Albos and a fusion monster was not enough to play Super Poly in my eyes, and I had no space in my extra deck for playing the targets.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Well, the main deck looks really, really good. Let's talk a little bit about the side deck before we wrap this up. I think There Can Be Only One is probably one of the strongest going first cards for Branded right now. What are your thoughts about that?
It comes one time it came for game. I bricked, but I had the TC Boo and the Runic Sprite full higher player, I think. Yeah. Had no out, so he had to go a lot minus. He made a unicorn to spin it back and had maybe one set, but I can play through it with a deployment into Albus and to Mirror Jade. Yeah. So it helped for the one match and it was very good. And in theory, you have decks that it is not good against, but you have a lot of decks where it can be match winning. So it was in the side deck correctly, I think. And I will not miss it. Even for going second against some decks, you can flip it and it will break a board, so why not?
Yeah, for sure. It's a really strong card. Then we're playing the 2 evenly that didn't make it into the main deck. 2 Dark Ruler, 2 Cosmic Cyclone, 3 Nibiru. I really like all of these. I think these are just like, such good cards that they just keep making it into everyone's side deck, even though these cards are like not new at all. They're just so powerful. 1 Magnum and 1 Druisworm, I think that makes sense. Mathmech was probably not that prevalent. Branded also not in such high numbers. And then Jinzo, obviously. Definitely possible to summon this off of Sanctifier. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think I was seeing the combo in your tutorial, and I want to have out against back row decks, and this is very consistent because I think it's only a 2-card combo by getting the Jinzo in the graveyard and the Albion on field. and so I want to have something against Spectro, anti-meta decks, and for example even Labyrinth. Sadly, I had it not in the feature match, but there was Guardian Chimera in form of Twin Twister, so this was nice.
Did you summon the Jinzo in any of your matches?
I sided in for maybe 3 matches, but I never drew it, sadly. It was not making a difference.
Yeah, the funny thing about Jinzo is that you can go, branded opening, summon a monster, tribute summon the Jinzo. Sometimes that will be enough against a lot of decks, but also such a strong card. And then we're seeing the extra deck, I think relatively standard cards like Queritus. I personally really, really like Queritus. Tulu Bellion, Masquerade in the main deck, and since you're not playing Super Ball, you have a lot of room for everything else. Maybe the two things that are missing here, for maybe like a good reason, Titaniclad and Lulu, the synchro. What are your thoughts about that?
Lulu was in theory good, but in practice, you're always making it by banishing Granguignol to summon it.
Yeah.
And for example, a Curtis I can hard make with a Despian monster and a Light in the Dark. Am I right? Yes.
Yeah.
So it's more flexible, and I want to have not that hard situational cards like Lulu. So I was thinking diversity is important.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Titaniclad, you never felt like you needed a card like that?
I was thinking about it, but in my eyes, you summon Quem with it, right? Is it more win more than it will make a board that you stop your opponent? Most of the time, when you have Titaniclad in your graveyard, you already have branded in red a Libitum Mirror Jade, or even or only on branded in red a Mirror Jade. And in my tournament experience, it was basically enough.
Yeah.
And I never missed the option that I can summon Quem from my deck in the end phase.
Awesome. Overall, I think...
Oh yeah, sorry. No problem. I summoned her most of the times with Granguignol or even with branded opening if I already have Aluba normal summon.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Well, overall, I think super, super solid deck list. Really, really tight. Not like 40 cards. This is the things that I really love to see with branded, like, breaking the board with your engine. This is what branded does really the best. Anything else you would like to add on the deck, the decisions, the cards, things you decided to not play, and why?
Yes, I want to play Abyss to Magnamut in the main deck, but I couldn't find space to put it in, and 41 cards was no option, so I put it in the side.
Why not? 41 is golden.
Not if you want to see branded opening with a card like Called by the Grave or Crosser Designator more consistent.
Yeah.
And the other things I want to say is I never played the mirror match in the whole tournament.
Good for you.
But I played
it kind of sucks this format.
But I played basically against every other deck, also from Rika to Full Hire Runic to Kashtira, even Marincess. I played against the other feature match player with Marincess. I think he had a feature match in the Swiss rounds. I played against Manadium, Labyrinth, Link. I think there was everything.
Yeah, amazing. Before we wrap this up, any shout outs to anybody?
Shoutouts to my parents for sure, and to my Yu-Gi-Oh community in Bremerhaven and Bremen, and my group, my travel group to Dortmund was a very nice tournament experience.
Awesome, amazing, congratulations! This is a huge achievement. Top 8 in German Nationals, one of the biggest nationals in the world. So again, really, really good job. And with a deck like Branded, that takes a really good player to get this to the top. So again. Thank you so much, Lukas, for joining me and showing the viewers your deck list. And again, congratulations on your tournament. If you are watching this and you like this type of content, leave a thumbs up on the video, subscribe, comment down below your thoughts about the deck, and of course, say congratulations to Lukas. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.